Good afternoon, everybody. Maybe it's evening. It could even be morning when you're listening to this. I don't know when you are. I'm just guessing. I want to start off by saying how grateful I am and how lucky I am to be surrounded by the community I have. Everyone is so curious and passionate and willing to sit down and record a 2.5-hour podcast episode with me, which is great, especially for me. And I hope they get something out of the conversation too. Speaking of conversation, today's is with a good friend of mine, Pete. We've lived together, we've worked together, and we trained jiu-jitsu together. Not only do we just train together, we're similar in body type, we're similar in styles, and we are the same belt level. So we have gone to war with each other for about 5 years. And it has done nothing but benefit, at least my game. I assume it's benefited his game. But we do a little bit more than just talk about jiu-jitsu. Granted, the first 20 to 15 minutes is just some jiu-jitsu talk. But after that, we go thoroughly off the rails and dive into quantum computing, the governance of humans, the benefits and problems with authoritarian rule versus democracy. It gets a little wild. Enjoy this episode of the Mike vs. Void podcast. Okay, we're good to go.
Okay,
We're recording a podcast.
let's do it.
Pete. Pete.
Mike.
Pete, you've been mentioned before on podcasts
Okay.
by Ethan and Anton.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. You are my jiu-jitsu nemesis. But I wouldn't say nemesis.
No.
But I at least measure my game heavily off on you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a couple of people, you definitely being one of them, that are always like benchmarks for me. Yeah.
Yeah. If a pass works on you or a sweep works on you, I know it's going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If a sweep works on you, I know it's good. I know it's good.
Yeah, I'm a thick boy. You can't see this, but
your
I'm
top
thick.
pressure is... mwah.
Hey, man, your movement, your leg weave pass, I still have nightmares about it. It's the single thing I am trying most to stop from happening in jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah, it's the one thing. Like, with Millsy, he adapts to everything I do so quickly that he usually won't... If something's really working, he'll show me how to stop it, try it halfway, and then try something different before he goes back to it. But your leg weave pass, like, he can't even leg weave pass on me now. He doesn't try. He prefers to pass another way, similar to how I do, which is go in through the guard as opposed to avoiding the guard altogether, you know?
Yeah.
But no, your leg weave is the thing of my nightmares. It's just, you're so solid with it, and most people don't get away from my guard. Like, I had to teach Dan a different way to pass because he learned your leg weave, and he's bigger than both of us, and he's very powerful, but he has zero ability to do it. He just can't frame and wedge.
Okay, interesting. So it's funny you say that because I just watched a video on a different... very similar to the way that like the arm weave actually is, I believe what it's called.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Call it what I want.
But very similar concepts to that. But I just watched a video on a slightly different version because you know who it doesn't work on is Josh. Actually,
Same.
is the one person that doesn't work on, and it's frustrating. Although today actually I had some very nice success with something else, but maybe we'll get into that later. But yeah, so I've just watched a video on basically taking the same concepts as the arm weave. Like the idea is you either want to be splitting the legs apart or you want to be pushing them together.
I saw. I didn't watch the whole video,
okay.
But
it is a good video. It's Josh Saunders.
Yeah,
I
that
believe.
dude's fucking dope.
He's very good, and he's actually fighting Gordon Ryan. I think I just saw.
That'll be interesting to watch.
Yes, that's a very good fight.
Yeah, I would love to see Gordon Ryan get dethroned, just to see what happens when he's put in pressure and has to come back. Because I don't think he'll do it for long. You get lucky, you get enough points, maybe you get past it. Maybe he's too passive on the judges' kind of scorecard.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way you're going to get to beat him.
When you have one person who just dominates for like what is it, a decade or two now?
Yeah.
Like it's actually
Like
not
12
good
years.
for the sport. It's like you want those fights where you're like, I don't know who's gonna take this. This is gonna be a nail biter, right?
It's also like if there's a Gordon Ryan fight, I'm not going to watch it day of.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be cool to see it on YouTube 6 weeks later,
That's what I'm saying. It's like
but I know what's going to happen.
it doesn't have the hype around it. Like
Yeah.
you know he's gonna win. So it's good to see other people come in and push him, and maybe even beat him. Who knows?
I'll watch when he fights Nicky Rod. I think out of everyone
Yes.
in the jiu-jitsu world right now.
Yes.
Sorry, this is so jiu-jitsu heavy, but we're just doing what we want.
Well, we just came from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were just fighting our asses off. I think Nicky Rod currently in the world stands the best chance. I think
Absolutely.
technically Craig Jones could do it, but I don't think he has the interest or the
No,
drive
he's-
to get in the kind of shape.
He's even said he's semi-retired. now,
yeah, he's
so.
like, I just have fun. But yeah, no.
That would be a great matchup. I don't think Gordon will agree to it though.
No.
Which
To
is
Nicky Rod?
Yeah, which is
No,
unfortunate.
only under very specific rule set.
Yeah, like I mean, $1 million. That's pretty good motivation, right?
Yeah, but Nicky Rod wants to fight him CGI rules.
Right.
So to the world that's listening that isn't into jiu-jitsu is...
Which is 99% of the world. But
yeah,
go on.
Jiu-jitsu is a grappling style sport similar to wrestling. You're on the ground and you're attempting to gain positions and advantages through controlling your opponent's body. So it's a sport very much, if you've seen UFC, it's what happens when they get on the ground, but without punching. So without the punching, you can be a lot more risky about positioning your body because you don't have to worry about strikes. The thing is there's a large capacity in those positions for stalling and holding and slow, grindy control. Gordon Ryan is probably the best in the world at that style of jiu-jitsu. He's very comfortable off his back. If you try to pass his guard, he will leg lock you. If you try to get out of his guard, he will sweep you. He'll sit in his guard forever happily. So the CGI rules stand you up every 5 minutes and force you to have to re-engage from the feet. So if you're going to pass Gordon Ryan's guard, if you're going to get him into a dangerous position, you have to do it dynamically and suddenly. And Gordon Ryan, obviously, that doesn't play into his strengths, so it's a very strategic tactical move to not fight CGI rules. Plus, you can't back up in CGI. You won't get reset by the judges. The CGI is in the alley. It's basically a pit with like 45, 50-degree walls on the side that are padded. So if you back up, you get pressed against it, and you can get collapsed into that void, like that little angle that's created and pinned by the wall and the opponent, and it gives you a serious disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a rule set that definitely, I would say, encourages the wrestling, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. It encourages action.
Yeah.
You have to have enough jiu-jitsu, and that's the thing is, you'll be 50-50 with a guy and beat him one day and lose to him the next.
Yeah, 100%.
You can be much better than someone, and they can still stop you from doing shit. Like Big Dan's power on top, his ability to pass, his ferocity in the game. The only reason I smoked the dog shit out of him today is because I pulled I pulled half guard, tied him up with a Bravo grip, and sat there for 6 minutes and watched him just like a fucking greyhound sprint for that rabbit to try to pass. And I was like, I'll sit here all day with a lockdown, and there's nothing you can do. The jiu-jitsu he was employing was better than what I was doing, but mine was able to stop him. So I just waited till he was tired, swept him on his back, choked him.
Yeah, that's the way jiu-jitsu works. Like if I'm going to beat you at my game, whatever that may be, right? So it's a game of trying to sucker the other person into playing your game that you know you can beat them at. And if I do get you into my game, I beat you easily, even though I'm not necessarily better than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
no, it's interesting that way. On to a different topic.
Yeah, let's do it.
Subtly different. I'm going to do something different I haven't done on a podcast. I'm going to fire a couple of completely random. They're not all going to be yes or no, but they're all going to be a binary choice.
Oh, good. Okay. Yep.
I had like 15 questions ready, and I don't remember a single one.
Oh,
of them.
good.
I should
Yeah.
write stuff down. Okay.
What did Ron say the other day? Something about...
Oh, dear God.
Oh, it was so funny the way he worded it. I'm going to fuck it up. But it was... Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Joey Diaz. You're allowed to swear. This is
After
the
I've done
internet.
it, yeah. No, he said something so funny. It was like he's better at improvising or something. Like he thinks better when he's doesn't have a plan or something like that, it's like, yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't necessarily say better, but his ability to perform is directly related to the ridiculousness of the situation.
Yeah.
And improvisation definitely is more prone to hilarity than
calm. Let's just say planning isn't his strong suit. So
yeah, he likes to fire from the hip. That's our boy.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Morality or loyalty?
Binary. Just pick one.
Just pick one.
Loyalty. 100%.
AK-47, AR-15.
Oh.
Binary.
Just binary. Okay. Honestly, AR-15.
Benign authoritarianism or barely effective democracy?
I think you know. I think you know which one I would pick.
Take a shot.
Benign authoritarianism.
Okay. Pete, you're a very interesting man for a couple reasons. Some we won't get onto.
Yeah, probably for the best. Yeah.
But you, if I was to describe you to someone, I would say that you have an almost angelic ability to walk the line between kindness without weakness.
Oh.
Yeah, dude.
That's deep. I like that. Well, thank you.
Let me choke on the nicotine. When we first started working together, it was awesome for me. It was awesome for you. It was fun. Yeah. And that Christmas came by, and you gave me a substantial Christmas present.
Well, don't bring that up on the internet.
Fuck you. It's not the substantiality. It's the thought behind the gift. It was the understanding that, how do I put it? You have an innate understanding of the karmic balance of the world, and you seem to walk that line better than most.
Well, that's a deep way of putting it, but yeah, you take care of people. That's it. Like, there's nothing, without getting, and we're going to get there, don't worry, but without getting too immediately into the, the deep philosophy of it, you did me a solid and, want to take care of you. That's it.
Yeah. You've been there for some of my most recent darkest moments.
Yeah. Which are still really funny.
Yeah.
That's what I love about you.
Just out of control. Even the dark mic came out. I'm just like...
Even when you're dark, you're quite funny.
Yeah, I don't mean to be. I was talking to... I don't even know if I want to put this out on the internet.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with some stuff in my own personal life. A complex relationship with life. And Jenny and I were joking. I can be dark. I'm struggling with some things, but I tend to do it with levity. That's how I tend to deal with everything.
Yeah, that's
dark
how you
humor
deal
is
with
how
it.
you survive.
Yeah.
And we were talking about something, and I made a suicide joke, which people may think is in bad taste. Get
and
fucked.
It probably is.
I'm gonna do my own thing. And she just fucking died. That's when I knew she was the one.
Right.
Because we were stuck in traffic once, and I just looked at her. And this car cut us off, and there's no one's moving, but there's cars jockeying around like it's gonna get them past.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is why people suck start Glocks. And she's looking at me. First of all, she has to put it together in her head. What's a Glock?
Yeah.
It sounds like cock. Is this a blowjob joke? And then she's like, I think Glock's a gun. And then I see her looking at her phone, and 4 minutes later, she starts dying. And I was like, oh yeah, you're the one.
You're the one, eh?
No, you seem to be, and if I'm digging into stuff you don't have to talk about, we can do many episodes.
I know, right?
But you seem to be unshakably capable of bright siding in most moments. You can have a deep understanding of flaws in a situation, and you're able to still shake it off and keep going forward, and not only doing it that way with a smile on your face.
Yeah, I learned this lesson a while ago, and many times over in different ways. But, like, at the end of the day, it's a choice to be happy, right? Like to understand what you have and, you know, see the bright side of it and understand that it could be worse. Like, even in the worst fucking situation, you have a lot. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you're just alive is great, you know? So, yeah, I'm just happy, man. Like, it doesn't take much to, you know, to get by and to live a decent life. Like, if you got food in your belly, you got a roof over your head, you got one or two friends, you're you're doing all right, you know?
And I fundamentally agree with that, absolutely. But there is a pain that inherently comes from the desire of knowledge. And most people I've met in my life who have a desire for knowledge, a thirst for it, are pained by that thirst. So it takes all kinds to make a society work. Some people don't have a desire for knowledge. They're amazing what they do. They go home, they're happy. You're able to walk both, because there are a few people that I can bring up a topic with that will tell me I'm fucking wrong on, and we will both just start Googling and we will dive deep into that.
Yeah.
So I would say the things that would normally insulate someone from the kind of eldritch beast that is knowledge and the internet, you seem to be able to weather that in a way that I am jealous of at times.
Watch the Richard Feynman interview where someone asks him. So I think it was something about he was getting into painting, and some guys asking about it. The painter just sees the flower and appreciates its beauty, but when you scientists, you look at a flower and you dissect it and you break it down into all these different, you turn it into just this stale sort of
hydrogen and carbon.
Right. And his, rebuttal of that was basically like, no, I appreciate it on so many different levels. I can appreciate the beauty of it the same way the painter does, but I understand that it's this beautiful structure that's inside. Like there's so many different layers. You keep going. There's so much to just a little flower and I can appreciate it on all these different levels once I understand it. That's kind of like, that extends to a lot of things, right? Like, the more you understand something, the more you can appreciate it on different levels. That's kind of how I see it.
The old Ender's Game quote?
Yeah.
You can't truly know your enemy without loving them.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. No, I've just always, it's felt at times the desire not to be the smartest, because I don't really care about that. I prefer to be in a room of smarter people.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky to be around some intelligent, well-read, researched people who are argumentative. Your present company extremely included. But I find the desire to know a little crushing at moments. That's an oxymoron.
Really?
A little. I'm going to die before I can read half the books I want. That's with audiobooks.
I know. I don't read. I'm so bad. I'm such a Neanderthal. I have so many books that I want to read, and I just don't do it.
Books.
I know. I got to get into it.
But also, YouTube, man, the lectures that are on there.
Yeah, that's my jam. Yeah.
Like, the best lecture on, Chernobyl, which is something I'm super curious about.
Yeah.
Nuclear physics, nuclear chemistry, all that stuff. Jesus Christ. Some scientist just threw his phone across the room. It's like these fucking cave people. The best lectures are free on YouTube from MIT.
I know, right?
Fucking MIT lectures on the control surfaces of the F-22 Raptor by an F-22 pilot. I'm like, tug, 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 tug.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, grandparents.
yeah.
No, I find it I find it troubling sometimes.
Really?
It adds to the I just want to know.
Yeah, like that's my only aw shucks thing is I'm just not going to live long enough to fucking learn everything that I want to know.
I just don't want to die without knowing why. Not why I died. I'll hopefully know that.
Yeah, it's
hopefully not.
You're eating a pastrami sandwich and massive heart attack.
You're like, okay, I know the why.
Yeah, I know why.
I can die happy.
Yeah, basically.
No, it's I wrestle with that concept. Maybe it's just the Jewish
Say
genetics.
Say more.
I have a therapist, which I've talked about before on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we've determined is I struggle with a why that is paramount enough, immediate enough, and enticing enough. And without the why, I spiral. I tend to do well when it's a intense survival moment, but the day-to-day life...
Right, the monotony.
It's not even the monotony. It's the finding purpose. I definitely struggle with finding purpose.
Okay.
And one of the purposes that I maybe poorly have related self-worth to is the pursuit of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that there is more in 1 terabyte of YouTube than I will be able to learn to the level that I want to.
But that's great, isn't it?
It's also beautiful.
Yeah, like it would suck if you just like 5 minutes of YouTube. Okay, I know everything.
I'm
done.
Yeah,
Like
you're right.
that'd be terrible. It's great that you can't learn everything.
I would rather wish for more time to read books than wish for the knowledge of the books.
Right.
No, I just yeah.
Well, without sounding like too much of a hippie, it's more about enjoying the ride than getting somewhere, right? And it's, I like that Jordan Peterson quote of like comparing yourself to where you were yesterday as opposed to who someone else is today, right? As long as you're making progress in life, whatever that may be at, whether it's you're learning more things, whether you're getting better, you landed a new sweep today, like that's progress, right? Like, yeah, I mean, that's, there you go. So that like, that's what it's all about for me, at least,
I think I walk too often on the other side of the coin. Another Jordan Peterson quote.
Oh.
Hell is living for eternity with the man you could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I worry about that man.
Not living up to potential kind of thing.
Yeah. I struggle with that. Definitely.
Yeah, I had a little bit of that recently.
Oh, no.
I'm wondering if I should even admit to this.
Dude, you do not have to. Do not feel obligated.
I took a vanity IQ test, and yeah, I know, bad idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I fucked around so much. Like, god damn it. Yeah. Anyways,
and it was an ego check.
It was sort of, in the sense of like, I really should have accomplished more. But
yes. Well, I think,
but that's fucking life, like
I'm not good at that part.
You gotta kind of
it's fucking life.
You gotta own the scars. Like that's how I see it, right? Like your body's gonna. What was that quote about something you want to, when they lay you down, you want your body to be broken and mangled, and like you want to have fucking lived. Right?
My life is if my body is a race car.
Yeah.
I don't want to cross the finish line in mint condition.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And mentally is no different, right? Like you're going to have physical and mental scars, and that's just part of the game, right? Like you're going to have regrets, you're going to have fuck ups. It's take it all in stride. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Obviously.
No, I've always found that being around you is comforting to me in a way.
I'm very comforting.
So comforting.
This is now an ASMR channel.
Yeah. I've done that on every fucking podcast. I gotta stop.
Nice.
But it's just too funny of a joke.
Yeah.
No, you're just... We can go to battle over things, intellectual things. And it's relaxing to know that, I don't know, you're a bit of a rock, and I like it.
Yeah.
And it's comforting to have someone to pressure test ideas. And I don't mean necessarily ideas. I can intellectually go to bat with you.
That's
like
fun.
We do in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I know that, win by points, get submitted, do the submitting, you will have zero hesitation rolling again intellectually.
Yeah, that's what I miss about working with you, is like you were someone that I could bounce ideas off of and get like honest but harsh criticism. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna pick my idea apart, but like within the best spirit of it. You know what I mean? Like, to make it better, not to just shoot it down.
Yeah,
I do miss that. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss it too. I think that was one of the things that drove me to do the podcast is, you know, I'm very lucky. I get to have conversations like this with Jenny pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't live with Jesse anymore, and we used to spar regularly intellectually. I don't live with you. I don't work with you anymore. I'm not the most important thing in your life, and it crushes me every day.
I know.
So, you know, but it was important to me to preserve exercising my brain.
Yeah.
Because one day I'm going to be too old to do jiu-jitsu, but I won't be too old to...
Mental jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, funny. Just
no.
I have to
tell
say,
stories.
I have to say it on the podcast because it's maybe one of my favorite moments in life is the day that I came downstairs to see Jesse, our old roommate, eating a bowl of blueberries, and he took a Gatorade and poured it in his blueberries. Frozen blueberries, I should specify. Like it was cereal. And he's like, this is the best thing ever. I'm like, you are a maniac in the best way possible.
Yeah.
I miss that house some days, for sure.
I'm not going to give Jesse's last name, but this is the first conversation I ever had with him. I was talking to one of my old roommates, Blake, again, who will go...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you fucking ruined everything.
Yep. Totally.
That's okay. If you got to take it, take it.
No, that was just an alarm.
Mine's on too.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I don't care. It happens. I'll take it out of your pay.
Yeah, of course.
I was in the kitchen talking to Blake, and Blake's a biologist. He was doing his master's in biology.
It's fine. Just carry on.
We were discussing when life begins from how do you structure legislation around reproductive rights from a scientific standpoint. And I was kind of pressure testing his idea.
Right.
Jesse, who's working on his PhD in biology, walks in the room. This is the first time I've ever spoken to Jesse. This tall, lanky, weird farm boy who's doing his PhD in I guess I just described him perfectly.
Yeah.
So
and he went to this university.
Yeah, he went to this university.
Yeah.
He walks in. He was joking, everyone. But I'm like, Jesse, when do you think, in this context, life begins? And he's like, the formation of recallable conscious memory. And I look at Blake. Blake looks at me, and he's confused. And I'm like, isn't that like 3 years old? And Jesse goes, correct.
Yep.
And walks out of the room. And I was like, he goes hard in the paint.
Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, yeah.
He will.
So does the other roommate that we probably shouldn't mention. But yeah, he's had some doozies too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the, yeah.
The wildest shit comes out of his
even
mouth.
for the internet, that's a little spicy. But yeah, I do miss Jesse. That was
wild. We got deep on some stuff.
Oh yeah.
Those couch conversations. Fucking wish I had microphones for those.
I know, right?
No. Pete, do you believe we have a soul?
Ooh.
Expand as much as you want, be as binary as you want.
Yeah, I am pretty, cut and dry about these sorts of things. I like the debate of consciousness, for example. We've had this one where it's like, to me, as far as I can tell, consciousness is
let me adjust the question because you've made it better.
I've already gone off. Yeah.
Do you believe we have free will? And if we don't, does the concept of a soul have value?
No and yes.
Okay, so we don't have free will,
right?
But the concept of a soul still has value.
Yeah, well, again, like I think
untie that one.
Okay, yes, easily. I think I think free will is sort of it's one of those things, again, like consciousness, that's sort of depends on your definition of it, right? Like, I think it's pretty, like, an objective statement that you are basically two parts: your genetic makeup and your upbringing, neither of which you really had any control over.
Nature versus nurture.
Right. But both are essentially out of your control.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no free will in that sense. Like the person you are was in some sense predetermined. Right.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't benefit you psychologically to think that. This is what I notice about people. People really don't like that idea. Like if you ask probably 90% of people, do you believe in free will? I think a lot of them would say yes, like an overwhelming majority, or at least that, they'd have some sort of nuanced answer on that eventually gets to, yes, I basically believe in free will. Because it's not psychologically productive to think that everything that happens to you, that you have no control essentially of your life, that everything, because you do have control over to some degree over things, right? But again, that decision making process has already been sort of predetermined by your genetic makeup and your upbringing. But it's not necessarily useful to think in that way. Like even though that may be the sort of cold hard reality, it is psychologically more productive to think that you control your life, that free will is a real thing. Like there's a reason why people tend to believe in it, because it is actually,
value.
There's value there. In the same way that, certain religions, they may not be literally true, but people still nonetheless derive tremendous value from them in the sense that it provides a community and a moral structure, right? That's kind of how I view it.
There's a quote that comes to mind for this. When asked if God exists, this specific person said, pause for a moment, I behave as though he exists.
Yeah. Very
that
good
doesn't
quote.
answer the question. Jordan Peterson. Again.
Yeah, of course.
That doesn't answer the question, but it explains the purpose, what was being sought by asking the question.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to look at it. Is like, I don't, on a sort of theoretical level, I don't believe in free will, but
Same.
I don't act as if
I behave as though I
behave as if I have it. Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think consciousness is I think we do have free will in the way that we can slowly over time adjust the stimuli in our lives, which will adjust the way the computer decision makes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I think broadly speaking, we do. But in moment to moment, I think free will is far more of an illusion than it is a solid concept.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's damaging. And in fact, I don't want to live in a world where everyone thinks they don't have free will. That's what is it? Existentialism to an nth degree. Right. And I tend to think that breeds shitty humans.
Yeah.
No offense to existentialists. I'm sure there's a lot of really good people out there who are existentialists.
Well,
But I worry about if things, going back to looking for the why, discovering purpose. If there's no free will, there is no purpose. You could look at it the other way, that a quote-unquote God has a plan for you.
Yeah, like, again, that would be sort of from a, it's interesting from the Christian perspective, because they sort of take both sides of that. It's like God created everything, is all powerful, all knowing, has a plan for everyone. But their answer to the problem of suffering and all that is the free will answer, which is, yes, God could prevent all bad things from happening, but then humans would have no free will. Everything would be determined. But it kind of is already based on, at least my Christian understanding of God, right?
Yeah.
So I see a little bit of an internal contradiction there, but I'm sure there's some, much more.
There's some loopholes somewhere.
Yeah, there's some much more scholarly,
nuanced, in-depth views.
Yes.
There's a game called Binding of Isaac. I'm not talking about that game. It has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But there's a paper written on the subject, The Binding of Isaac, and it's the telling. I'm going to misquote this terribly because I am not a religious scholar. It's the difference in the three Abrahamic religions between what was it? Some dude had to bring his son to a mountain and sacrifice him for God.
Yep.
And in the 3 different religions, it takes place 3 different ways.
Oh, there's a little variation in the...
Yes.
Okay.
And the variations do a great job of displaying the difference in relationship to God between the 3 Abrahamics.
Right.
I don't know it well enough, nor am I comfortable discussing the differences between them yet.
Yeah.
I would want to do research and prep for that sort of assessment, but there's a sci-fi book, a series called The Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, and in it there's a character who's a Jew who has to sacrifice his daughter to this space demon thing called the Shrike.
Okay.
And
I think I've heard of this Hyperion series. Anyway,
it's really, really good.
Go on.
And he wrestles with it and is constantly in these dreams arguing with God, and eventually it's a multi-planetary civilization, and he goes to the Jew planet. They all kind of left
Jupiter?
That's amazing. No, it was called Hebron.
Okay.
And he sits down with a bunch of religious leaders and is like, I'm a Jew. I believe in God. He's also a scientist in an intergalactic civilization. So that's a struggle with God to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to understand that story because it relates directly to his life. And it boils down to the way it's explained by the rabbis is that you have belief in God is a deal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to trust, you have to have faith in God to not let evil happen. And so God has to protect your daughter, but you have to sacrifice your daughter. That the one can't exist without the other. And in the biblical story, God saves Isaac.
Yeah, that's right.
But and I think in the Christian faith, who was Isaac's father? I can't believe I'm blanking on this. Maybe
Abraham?
I shouldn't. Abraham? Maybe. I think it was Abraham.
I have read all these stories. I just...
Yeah, same.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I hit my head a couple times,
Yeah.
guys. I had a fun one with Jenny. Because I have a memory condition that's been...
I've not heard of this.
Oh, we've talked about it. I have a shitty memory. I've mentioned it in passing.
Oh, okay.
But it was put on display today. It wasn't a funny story. It's funny looking back on it because I have a dark sense of humor. But my dad's dad may or may not have passed away. I don't remember. Jenny thinks that he has because 3 times now. One time I was like, my grandfather died. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. And we did the normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, I'm like, I just found out my grandfather died like a year ago. And it was new enough into our relationship that she wasn't comfortable
telling me
that she's consoled me for it already. And even today, she was like, now I'm confused. Is he? You have a bunch of grandparents. You could be thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's passed away, but I don't know. So that's what shocks people is like,
that is brutal,
I was like, I have a memory thing. They're like, oh yeah, I have a bad memory too. I'm like, no. My family members die more than once for me.
I relived the pain over and over.
Yeah, if I don't go to your funeral, you haven't died for me.
Well, hey.
I need to put you in the Mind Palace next to
That's it.
Dan, one of our jiu-jitsu buddies, puking his brains out. When was the first time you realized you loved learning? If you can remember. Or if you can't remember the first time, when's a recent moment where you realized... Because I would say that you love it more than the average bear.
It started very early.
Yeah.
So I had, my mom loves to tell stories about I used to memorize animal facts. I used to have these little...
Fuck, we've played that stupid 21... What was it?
Yeah.
21 questions, guess the species?
Guess the animal thing, yeah.
We had some
Have
good
I played that with you? Oh my God.
Man, both of us need to stop getting head.
That's embarrassing.
It was in the old shop.
Yeah.
We were cleaning and getting things ready.
That's right, yes.
And we were doing it for hours.
Yeah. So I would walk around. I had these... Whatever, they bought me these books with animal facts, and I would memorize these like a little, very special child. I would memorize all these facts and regurgitate them. Yeah. So from basically as early as I could read, whatever. I don't remember how old I would have been, but as soon as I could read, I was already like obsessed with facts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I notice you take your health obsessively seriously.
Yeah, I get pretty obsessive.
That's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe there is. You need to
I
shrink.
I
definitely
definitely have OCD, but
that's fine.
a very
It seems to work for
a
you.
very weird specific kind of. Anyways,
You just want to live forever. You're like that vampire guy on a budget.
no, you know what? I don't really care about living that long. I want
quality?
Yeah, I just don't want to be. I've seen. I guess where that comes from. If I'm going to psychoanalyze myself, which,
Go ahead.
I
There's
don't.
no
I don't.
better place.
I don't recommend. But I think it comes from seeing someone die a very slow, painful, wasting away kind of death, and that made a big impact on me. Like, I do not want to. It was like they were like fairly young. It was Parkinson's, and it started at like late 50s, and just I think he finally died when he was 76. So it went on for just ages, right? And he wasn't there for most of it, right? So seeing that, I was like, okay, I don't want to go that way. And there, there's been other things. My mom had cancer, so yeah, And then of course, me being me, I take everything to the extreme. But you know where it actually started? Okay,
Go.
that's probably the deep psychological motivation for it. But you know where it actually started? With fucking CrossFit.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I swear to God. So I had this friend in high school who was into CrossFit.
Poor guy.
Yeah,
Or
whatever.
girl.
It was a guy.
I threw a guess.
I had no girl friends in high school. I was not.
No, I did the math on that.
Yeah, probably a safe bet, eh?
This is 2025. They might have changed teams. I want to respect it.
Yeah, fair enough. Might be a girl now. I don't know.
Oh, fuck. I'm so canceled.
Yeah, already.
Sorry.
No, I didn't. It's not bad.
Whatever.
I haven't kept in touch with them. Them. So anyways, back to the story. It started with he was into CrossFit and they were doing I don't know what this was. Maybe it was just their particular CrossFit gym or if this was a CrossFit wide thing, but he did a challenge of like no sugar or artificial sweeteners, whatever, for like a month. So I was like, that was that point where I was like interested if I could. I sort of like doing things like that. Like, do I actually have the willpower to do that? Because sugar is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's. I'm heavily addicted to it.
It's good
I don't
stuff.
get my sugar fix. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I started with that, and I went a month, and I found like it was not hard. Once I like make up my mind to do something, the hardest part is deciding to do it. But once I've like, no, I'm definitely going to do this.
Talking to the mic. Don't talk at the table.
Sorry, I like this.
It's okay.
It's a nice table.
You can move the mic. You can just put it
I
right
know, but
against the
it's-
table and lie your head down.
Can I just strap it to my forehead?
Yeah, we'll look into that.
Yeah, we'll
Like
look
one of
into
those beer helmets. but with a mic
that
on
would
it.
be yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sorry.
the month went by. It was super easy, and I'm like, I'll just keep doing this. So I did that for like, and I was like, at that time, I was very strict about it too. I was like, this is like zero sugar for like, I did it for like years, and then eventually I'm like, yeah, this is kind of stupid. I don't have to be that strict about it. So that's kind of where it started. And I just like, I also got chubby after high school. That's part of it too. I put on a lot of weight, and I'm like, because I just stopped playing all the sports, as most people do, like the freshman 15, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want to be fat. So I got into health and stuff then, and part of it too that keeps me into it is like, I put on weight so easily, so I have to like, the people that annoy me are like Shane, that can just like
Fucking Ethan.
binge. Yeah,
Or Shane, worst of all, because he's old too.
right. He's like our
fuck
age,
you, Shane.
a couple years younger. Anyways, but he can binge eat and just like go out
Drink.
drinking, and it's like, and he's got a 6-pack, and it just it annoys the hell out of you.
Yeah, get fucked.
I cannot do that, so I have to be weird and healthy and strict. But that's not weird in my family. Like most of us are.
In good shape.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say good shape, but there's some,
Yeah.
But my sister's like that too. She went to school to be a dietitian. So, yeah.
Do you see a relationship between preserving your ability to consume knowledge and overall body health?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing worse for your health than those people I see that like go home, sit in front of the TV, crack a beer, veg out for the night, go to bed, do it all again. Like that's
2 beers a night, every night.
Yeah. That is like death. Just like your soul again. Not really, but like, you know, for the purposes of argument, your soul just dies that way.
I don't disagree with you. I think on the other hand that the world needs a ton of those people to do
monotonous jobs.
Yeah. I think
maybe.
finding beauty in the simplicity of life can help make you happier.
But I view that kind of stuff in a very selfish way. It's like those people just don't interest me. So
That's fair.
as far as I'm
there's nothing
concerned,
wrong with that.
as far as I'm concerned, they just like whatever. I have no interest in them. Like if you're not curious about life at all, you don't want to travel, you don't have any like hobbies or interests or passion. Like you just don't talk to me. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you only have a certain amount of words you're going to speak between now and the day you die, you want to make sure those words are in conversations that are of value.
Yeah, don't like the worst thing in life is like superficial conversations. I
disagree with you.
I get very deep very quickly when I meet someone new. I'm like, so like, what do you think about like consciousness and the meaning of life?
Yeah.
And based on their answer, it's like whether I'm gonna continue to talk to you. It's like,
I'll do jujitsu with you, but I'm not gonna.
I don't know, like I just like smoke weed and like play video games, and it's like okay, well, see you later.
Yeah, okay.
It's been nice.
Well, it's been fun.
Yep.
No, I get it. I thirst for the depth of topics.
You thirst for depth.
Hell yeah, I do.
Yeah. No, it's you don't want to be one of those people that can't have a deep conversation. That's
yeah. Here's another random question.
I love them.
Any point in society, human history,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere in the world, if you could be in the upper middle crust, not necessarily oppressive crust,
Mm-hmm.
but good life in general,
Mm-hmm.
what civilization and what time period would you most want to experience?
Again, very boring answer, but now. Because you
You're so fucking happy. You're such a happy fucking cunt.
Yeah.
You're just so fucking
but
go-lucky.
again, the more you understand about history, the more you realize like
it'd be hilarious if someone broke in right now.
know.
I'd be like, "Oh, we're leaving the mics on. The judge is going to need
this is going to be a good episode.
We're going to wet willy the shit out of this guy."
Yeah.
Those cops better respond quick for his sake. We're going to do weird shit.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He's
Wait.
He's going to be on the podcast. I meant we're going to record him talking about why he broke into a
gym.
Yeah,
A fighting gym.
A fight gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but the more you understand about history, the more you're like, oh, like 90% of people die of disease, and
it was shit.
starvation and war, and like it's
Here's a question.
Okay, but let me answer that
fire away.
just for fun. If I can't pick now,
Yeah.
probably Roman times,
So I had to be like, how often a day do you think about Rome?
like twice.
Twice, for sure.
Not crazy.
Okay. Here's my other question.
Yep.
I would say that view
Mm-hmm.
of medical intervention
Mm-hmm.
can also be a double-edged sword.
In what sense?
We don't have to watch people die slowly if we can't keep them alive.
True, but we don't have to watch people die slowly now. I mean,
But you have, and it affected the
have,
way you look
yes.
at the entire world.
yeah.
Do you think that, at least...
I mean, assisted suicide is the thing, but anyways.
Okay, that's true.
I think it's legal now.
It's a complicated, very political topic in Canada, with a country we're recording it right now.
Yeah,
Some
but
things were suggested that
doctors do it. Like it happens.
It happens, and I don't think it's necessarily.
I've talked
a bad
to
thing.
enough I don't know that many doctors, but I've talked to enough that I'm like that they're like, so what do you do if like someone's like super dying, and they're like yeah, you just give them a little extra.
A little
Yeah,
zhuzh,
it happens.
a little juice.
It happens. Whatever.
Send them off.
Yeah,
On the best opiate high they have ever had.
that's right. Like
There's not to mention another book, but it's you, so we're gonna mention books
as many as you can.
There's it's becoming a movie. It's called the Hail Mary Project.
I know this. Yes.
Yeah, not to fucking spoil it, but one of the astronauts in the book, they are basically on a suicide mission, and they get to choose their own method of dying. And she chooses heroin, lab grade.
Yeah, as you
like
would.
UN produced heroin.
Absolutely.
She's like, I want 2 doses. One that will give me the best high ever, and the next one will kill me.
Yeah. That's absolutely the right way to do it. Yes.
Yeah. One guy picks a gun, another guy picks nitrogen in a spacesuit.
From what I understand, the problem with heroin is not that it's not good. It's that it's too good.
It's too good. Yeah, it's not a. I don't know.
Yeah,
heroin's not a party drug you try.
Yeah, it's like I'll do a little age today. Well, why not? No.
What? So it would be now. What about now excites you most?
Oh God, technology. Technology is so fucking cool because it's that's what excites me in general about like sci-fi is just because as opposed to like say fantasy, where they're both worlds where pretty much anything can happen, but the difference is like sci-fi is maybe one day, who knows, right?
There's a far higher degree of probability of it actually being a thing human experience.
Yes,
gets to participate in, as
with the
opposed to
exception of
dragons.
Star Wars. There's never going to be the Force is not a thing, unfortunately. There's never going to be samurai in space with light swords.
I don't know, dude.
Well, never say never, but
Yeah.
no, that's what excites me about the now is the possibilities that technology brings, like in every area, like medical, engineering, like everything is so cool. When you on the cutting edge of things, it's like this. If this becomes a thing, this is going to make life so much better for people. That's what I like hearing about. Like even just like the projects they're doing in like the Sahara Desert, where they're greening the edge of it so that like to fight off the encroachment of the desertification of Africa. It's like that shit's just cool. Like what do you call it? Terraforming basically is what it is.
Our
Like
own planet.
like that's awesome. I love stuff like that.
I don't disagree with you. Slightly off topic. Did you see, I think it's called the Majora? Microsoft came up with a quantum chip. They've been working on it for like ever.
No.
It fits in the palm of your hand. It's not true quantum computing, which I don't understand well enough to explain. I just know it's exponentially better, not linearly better than current chips.
The scary thing about, I'll say one thing about quantum computing though.
Here we go.
As far as from what I've seen or what I understand about it, which is rather limited, basically the only use they have for them right now is in breaking codes.
Yeah.
Which is
Decryption engines.
super scary because that means all of the encryption that we rely on for everything, banking,
Everything.
banking just shuts down tomorrow if these things, whatever, get
Get
misused.
into malicious hands.
Yeah, whatever. It would probably have to be like a state at this point, like a country that was.
Well, Microsoft's, it literally, they're showing pictures of it fitting in the palm of your hand. And it's not true quantum computing. It's a quantum state qubit. So like instead of a bit being
you have a qubit, yeah.
general understanding, mind you, I'm basically a caveman. Is that your normal computer, which you're probably well aware of, but in case you're not, and you want to follow along, has 2 states. It can be 0 or 1. Binary. That's why computers speak binary. So how a processor works roughly from a caveman standpoint, punching the computer when it doesn't turn on kind of human, you ask a computer a question and it responds true or false. Is 2 plus 2 6? It will say false. But quantum computing doesn't rely on bits. It uses qubits. So they're no longer binary. I think they're actually quadrary. They can be in multiple different positions. The switch doesn't have a linear relationship to the problem, which is hard to even just wrap your head around. The way I explained it to Jenny, because we were actually talking about it earlier today, because I was reading an article about it, and I was like, we're all fucked. We're all going to die. I'm not actually that pessimistic, people. But I explained it to her in different dimensionalities. Like, our regular computing is 2D. So I took a piece of paper and I drew a square. And I put a dot outside the square. And I said, can this dot get in the square? And she was like, no. And I was like, can you get in the square? And she just put her finger in the square. And I was like, exactly. Our current level of technology is that dot. Quantum computing is your finger. It's not that encryption could stop it. It's that it doesn't exist on the same plane of computing.
Mm-hmm.
It can run decryption algorithms at a speed that make the borderlines drawn out on a wall, and it's a person with a Sharpie standing in front of the wall. It can go wherever it wants and do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. That's what scares me about it.
Yeah, like I said, you break the encryption of a bank and everybody's money just goes to zero.
Or everyone's credit card debt goes away.
Yeah.
And your government goes broke bailing the bank out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, but as far as I see, I don't really see, at least as of right now, my understanding of it, I don't see a lot of like uses for it yet that are productive, just destructive. So
yeah,
it's obviously a very powerful technology, but that's again the flip side of technology is it does amazing things and can help people's lives, and it can also kill us all. But we've kind of lived with that for a long time. I mean, we've had atom bombs or hydrogen bombs for quite a while now. So
that's another.
Have you ever heard that story of the? I'm going to butcher his name.
The Russian dude.
The Russian dude that saved the world. It was up to some Russian submarine captain being level-headed that the world exists right now. It's like that's
It came down to one person not pressing a button at one point. That's how close we were.
Yeah. And there was a lot of pressure for him to do that.
Yes.
So, I suppose that's the downside of it. But
yeah, if you create the button,
someone's going to push it.
Or maybe not push it, but someone has to hover their finger over it 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
I quantum computing is very interesting, but what it did for me is it brings into stark reality so much of our society is based on our ability to not be able to grapple with big numbers, right? Like a hedge fund can do very well, but they don't know, like an investment bank or whatever, can do very well when it comes to trading stocks in the market. So well, in fact, that competing with them as a day trader is very difficult.
Like the algorithms and whatever. You can't beat it.
But it's our inability to predict the complexity of that system. We can't wrestle with it, and we can't communicate well enough to one another.
So I think you're touching on a subject that I'm very fond of.
Okay, go.
Okay. Without getting too far into it.
No.
There's a guy called Stephen Wolfram who has a theory that I am a very, with being an idiot, not understanding it, am a very big fan of. I like it because it's the one theory I've heard of everything that explains time in a very sensible way. But it's basically the problem of computational irreducibility, which is basically you cannot, you are limited in computing power. So there's that thought experiment of if you designed a computer that was powerful enough, could you just, plug everything into it and just know what's going to happen next?
Yeah, simulate the world.
Right. And his thing is no, you would have to essentially build a computer that is the universe effectively works as a computer, and you'd have to build a computer the size or the power of the universe, which inside of the universe you can't do. So it's a kind of a paradox. Now, his thing was you can sort of simplify it and get what you want. You can jump ahead in some ways where you can, if you don't care about everything, you just care about one thing, you can still sort of get useful information out of predicting the future. But it's a cool theory.
No, it's
I watched about 16 hours. He does he has a series of podcasts with Lex Friedman, and I just went deep.
I'm gonna have to watch those. That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, but it's you'll be scratching your head for a while, but
that's good. That's what I look for.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah, I again, the darker side of knowledge. It seems that ignorance is truly bliss, and man without ignorance, so i.e. perfect knowledge, is a god. and man
Without perfect knowledge?
no, with perfect knowledge.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't have ignorance
Mm-hmm.
and you have perfect knowledge, then you're a god. And I don't think, back to, who was it who wrote it? I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Should have had a bunch of nootropics. I need more lip cookies. But if men were angels, there would be no need for government. If angels governed men, there would be no need for checks on government. But since man must govern man, there must be checks on government.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're at a place right now, spiritually, cognitively, to manage being a god. So I worry about, that's good for the audio,
Yeah.
someone getting the power.
No, so I understand what you're saying. Like, we're basically not responsible enough to handle the power of the technology.
Barely survive nukes. And that's...
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we are, it's an interesting, we are cavemen, like, genetically, even intellectually, we're not necessarily smarter than the people that lived 200,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But now we have atom bombs. So, yeah, it's
We're monkeys with massive sticks.
Yeah.
The biggest sticks. I have the biggest, greatest sticks.
Yeah.
Fucking monkeys.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a problem for sure. What's the solution? I don't know. Is sort of the scary answer. Yeah. It seems like any kind of a system to, anytime someone tries to create utopia, they create hell.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's even scary just trying to like theorize what would be the best system to rein all this in.
Yeah. If quantum computing makes the market not necessary, therefore the underpinning of
like
production,
like a technology
is
like
gone.
that may come out that just like makes capitalism sort of irrelevant.
Yeah.
That could be a good thing. Who knows? But
Yeah.
that would sort of be the Star Trek version of things, where like there's replicators that make everything you could ever. We basically eliminate the need for we eliminate scarcity. There's no need for fighting over resources, right? That would be the sort of rosy picture of it.
Do you think, just to be argumentative as I usually am with you, do you think society today, Western society, Canada, US, Europe, do you think they struggle with meaning?
Absolutely.
Do you think less adversity would help them?
No.
So wouldn't a lack of resources just create less adversity?
That is the one theory. So there's some Russian guy was talking about, like, if people had nothing to do but busy themselves with replicating the species, then they would tear it all down just so something interesting would happen. Some quote like that. It's kind of, maybe
Super
true.
true.
I suppose that's the theoretical version of that. From what we see about like kind of real world practice of this, like universal basic income, for example, these studies,
Yeah.
in every metric, the people that have it seem to do better. So yeah, like I understand that reasoning from a theoretical perspective, but the small, admittedly limited data, real world data that we have on this, kind of shows the opposite. So who knows? Maybe people evolve in that sense and create, like, that's sort of the idea, is you create sort of artificial struggles for yourself, like jujitsu, for example, which is something to struggle against, but improve yourself in the process. It's not a destructive kind of thing where you're fighting wars and killing each other. You're fighting and doing something positive.
To horribly misrepresent and misquote someone from history, Machiavelli.
That's all I do. Go
Right?
ahead. Yeah.
In your mind, what is the person who comes home, drinks 2 beers a night, watches a football game, and goes to bed? What do they do in a world where
Like a
there's no
high-tech-
work? What I'm saying is, what do we do for those people?
Again, I don't know. So I'll present you the ways it could go.
Okay, fire.
The one way is that those people get bored and tribal and,
Try to tear the system down.
try to tear it down. Yeah, like their purpose becomes just fuckery, right? the sort of more optimistic view of it would be that they discover something that they actually care about, right? Like when you're not burdened with work, like, a lot of these people do very hard or very monotonous tasks that kind of cooks your brain, right? Like I have had those kinds of jobs. I worked on an assembly line for 1 week. And when you come home from that, like you do a shift of just like, in my case, putting basically packages into a box, you're just cooked. Like your brain is just empty. And that's all you want to do. And I've had other construction jobs where you work so damn hard during the day. Yeah, you just drink a bottle of wine and go to bed. So I get that. So again, the ideal version of that is those people not burdened by that, find some passion. That's the sort of the cheesy take on it, is everybody has some hidden talent or something that they're
That's
at least...
the purpose of the podcast, so you're right up my alley.
There you go. So they're at least interested in something, and they find something that, that is productive towards society, whether it's art or, sports or whatever.
The more flowery parts of my brain desperately want to agree with you.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I do struggle with, would I rather live in the dream of the Soviet...
What the Soviet Union was sort of designed to be?
Or would I rather live in the dream of what the Spartans thought society should be like?
Well, I think that's a bit of a... that's a bit of a tilted question, because the Spartan thing no longer exists. I agree. If we were fighting with spears and things, that'd be fine. But the reality is, war is just so damn destructive now. Like it's to the point where we really, as a species, have to get to the point where we realize, like, this is just not something that we can continue to do, right? And, the joke there is that the only way we're going to unite as humans is when we encounter aliens and we go fuck them up. But,
common enemy identity politics is the most powerful kind of politics.
That's right. That's what actually brings people together, is you unite
someone to fuck up.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Racism uniting people since 1776.
Yeah, exactly. But the Spartan dream isn't really, you could have that in a sense, like jiu-jitsu is a version of that, right?
Yeah,
like
we are very schooled in artificial adversity.
Right, and that's I think the only way to do it, right? You have some version of the communist ideal where everybody's... With jiu-jitsu.
Where Russians had Sambo and they still fell
They were very good at it.
They're fantastic.
They were very good at it. No, like there was... I mean, the problem with the Soviet system was everything, but other than that, it was pretty good,
Yeah.
Like they did have, it's pretty undeniable, they had the best engineers, the best scientists, like they were, well...
You know what? I won't disagree with you. I would say that...
The Americans had the best German scientists. That doesn't count, okay?
You know what? I won't disagree with you. But what I'm saying is they were the best because of the hardships. The mother of all invention is necessity. And in the USSR, there was an immense amount of necessity and strict lack of resources and confines on designs. Like F-15 versus MiG-29.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. was terrified about this new super plane, the MiG-29.
The Foxtrot or something?
Yeah. I think it's
Foxbat. That's what
Foxbat.
Foxbat,
MiG-29 Foxbat. That was the NATO designation for it, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, it was different. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We don't need to be pedantic and
We're
argue.
Getting so...
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the U.S. panicked. That's one of my favorite stories. They shit the pants.
Mm-hmm.
So the USSR propaganda machine, because the Cold War was just the largest dick measuring competition in human history for the most part, and the most expensive one. And so the U.S. was shitting their pants. We've lost air superiority. We need to make something that can fly higher, faster. So they built the F-15 Eagle, which to this day is still one of the biggest dicks in the air possible.
Mm-hmm.
They were given these fantasy what the Russians thought were impossible numbers. Let's see these Americans struggle with building this kind of aircraft.
Yeah.
And America's like, oh, fuck, hold my beer, and built the F-15.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mind-blowingly powerful. To this day, it's got a kill ratio of 0 to 124 air-to-air kills, combat.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid. We don't think about it because we've got Raptors, and we've got Lightning IIs and F-35s and all the cool stuff. But they still then built the Su-33 series, the flankers, which were, again, wild aircraft. Like, if you want to go to space, there's no one you can pay to take you in an F-15, but there are companies in Russia who will do it in a MiG-29.
Of course there are.
So,
Mother Russia.
Oh, Mother Russia.
It's a beautiful thing.
The place where capitalists love to go play.
Yeah. No, I view I view that as sort of a difference in design philosophy. You know, the Russians are very, hit it with a hammer until it works. And it's like Ron, made a
Ron's
country.
a Russian engineer.
He is. He really is.
He's very much a Russian engineer.
You hit the problem head on.
As hard as you can.
And enough times, and you will make progress. And there is some beauty to that.
But that's what I mean, is Russian engineers got hammers.
And also, you don't care about human life like so much.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
true.
can get a lot done.
But a MiG-29 can also land on a dirt runway and take off. An F-15 needs to pull into a manicured, pedicured lot, and the pilot needs to be carried out by 15 bikini-clad women placed in an air-conditioned office and fed pudding. Whereas the Russian pilot can roll out of the plane, drink vodka. Mm-hmm. He can land by a campfire in his MiG, over.
They got to slap him to wake him up.
They throw him in this plane, and it's on a dirt runway, and it's literally has a button that brings these doors up and opens flaps on the top of the aircraft, which increases its drag drastically, but it can take off without sucking shit in the intakes. Because their runways were so dirty. Yeah. They had to make a plane that could maybe not compete with the F-15, but was still a marvel of aeronautical engineering.
Yeah.
And they were like, we can't clean the runways, so make it fly on dirty runway.
Right. You want to know my favorite story about the Foxbat?
Hit me.
When they first got one, so there was a guy that defected and brought one over to the US. They were asking him stuff like all these questions about like, okay, so like there's no fuel gauge on this thing. Like, how do you know how much fuel? He goes, the pilot looks at them confused. He's like, that's the ground controls problem. I don't deal with that.
Yeah.
It's like they're just like baffled by this, like these crude people that just like
I have 45 seconds of afterburner and then I worry.
They're like, you don't care how much fuel you have? No, I just fly, It's not my problem. It's like, no, it kind of is.
There's another MiG, another Russian aircraft. I think it's the MiG-21 or something. But so when you're in a plane and you're flying, if you don't have enough air moving over the wings, they stop fucking working. The plane falls. It's called a stall. And when you're flying low and you're flying fast, you need to recover, or flying low and slow, maneuvering, trying to not hit the ground and not get shot down by another aircraft. You're turning too much. You lose too much speed. You start to fall out of the air. There's a very complex, specific, choreographed dance an American fighter pilot has to do in order to recover stalls. And you have to learn to do it quick, and you have to be able to do it right when you wake up in the morning when you're not fully awake.
Yep.
The Russian solution: paint stripe on instrument panel, paint stripe on control stick. Throttle forward, line up lines. Push stick forward on line, push throttle forward.
It's
plane
beautiful.
comeback.
It's beautiful.
You're right. Yeah, sometimes the hammer is the best solution.
Sorry, my argument is not that the Soviet Union was the greatest thing ever, and we should mimic this, just to be clear. It's that there were undoubtedly some benefits to that society. The cons vastly outweighed them, like, the gulags.
Millions of people who died from starvation.
I mean, if you're going to bring that up, No, but there's, I think the ideal is worth chasing. It's just that, again, the Russians went about it in a very...
communism would work if only we did it the right way.
Right, a very Russian way.
Interesting.
No, and that's not my argument. Is like,
no, I know
we have to try some better version of communism, but it's that technology actually does, on some level, offer that possibility that we could move past scarcity.
What form of government again, an impossible fucking question for cavemen to wrestle with, but we're going to do it anyways. What form of government do you feel... What would government look like in a world where AI has made scarcity... AI and quantum computing has made scarcity no longer a problem?
That is a tough question.
Because that just means there's a god who gives you money, which means that person has borderline omnipotent control.
You still need a way to distribute resources. Just because you can sort of produce things on demand doesn't mean everybody gets a private island, right? There are still some things that will never be...
Till we terraform Mars.
That's right.
With Texans.
With Texans.
I don't know why that happened.
You know exactly why that happened.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No, but there will always be some need to figure out a way to distribute resources. So there will always need to be some form of government. Like there's these sort of anarcho-capitalist ideas of everything's free market, everything just people all willing exchanges, which just makes no goddamn sense when you really think about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. That it doesn't make sense.
Because you're just setting up a situation where the guy with the biggest stick
gets all the
makes the rules. Yeah.
Yeah. You're making a land of oligarchies and corporatocracy.
Yeah, exactly. So
but then we get cool cyberpunk neon dicks.
No, then we get like what was that
oh fuck, I'm sorry.
Is that cyberpunk? Is cyberpunk like there's a video game like that?
Yeah.
Yes. Then we get cyberpunk, which is cool. But
yeah. There's a really good book that game is based off
of. Oh, okay. I have to read that then.
It's the series is called, I think it's the what's it called? I want to say Third Reach, but that's not it. It's by William Gibson. The first book is it's one of my favorite books. Man, I got to stop hitting my head. But it's a great book. William Gibson.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
The third book is Mona Lisa Overdrive, or second book's Mona Lisa Overdrive. Third book is 0 Point, and the first book is shit. It'll come to me, and I'll yell it out when you're in the
yell it out later. Yeah. No, but to answer that question,
sorry,
no, it's totally fine. I which I really can't do, but I don't know what the future governments will look like. I'm kind of not convinced, that would be the wrong word, but I'm leaning towards what I think probably the optimal government right now would be to run the country somewhat like the way a corporation is run.
Controversial, I like it.
Yeah, just in the sense that corporations really are the most efficient way to run, like the way they're structured, I should be clear, is the most efficient way to manage people. Like there's a reason the military has the structure that it does.
Yeah.
Right? And corporations in some sense mimic that.
Yeah. They have they're organized
hierarchically, right? So I'm sort of convinced that that's probably, so the structure would be sort of a pyramid, a double pyramid structure. So basically
that's boobs.
No. Yeah, really pointy ones maybe. No, but it's basically the idea is that each citizen acts as essentially a shareholder. The country acts as the corporation. You vote for a CEO. And then that CEO is in charge. You don't that's it. Like you don't have all of this shit beneath them. Like, so for example, in our country, we have a prime minister, but the prime minister doesn't have really that much power unless he gets a supermajority, right? But he needs, so for example...
Well, no, he doesn't need a supermajority. He can change parts of he can manipulate the Charter of Rights and Freedoms much easier than one could manipulate the Constitution.
Right. So that would be sort of my vision of what a perhaps more efficient government would be a government where you eliminate a lot of the Senate, all of this process here. Like basically this guy's CEO, he has probably a shorter term, and then you still have a constitution. Like you can't do crazy shit like start throwing people in the gulag, and that constitution would have to be set in stone somehow, that he can't just
It sounds like you're describing revolutionary America.
Yeah, essentially,
a constitutional representative republic.
I think the American system is very close to what the ideal system would be. I think where
Or
they've
it was. At least it's designed to be.
right, what it's designed to be.
It's become sick and
exactly where I think they've
diseased.
deviated from it is that the balance of power between the three forms of government, it's like the House, the Senate, and
the legislative, the executive,
yes,
and the
so
judicial.
the executive branch has basically lost its power. Like there's no specification on what the power dynamic between those three forms of government. So I would view it like I said, something very similar to what the Americans have. It is a well thought out system. There were some very smart people that came up with it.
Yeah, the Declaration of Independence and Constitution.
But I think you need to streamline it a little more. Now that could be, nobody listened to me, that could be terrible. That could create a system where you have like these wild swings in policy where one day we're going like the reason I think at least the traditional argument for the reason the system is set up the way it is with a lot of inertia in it is so that you don't have these crazy wild swings where like Trump coming in and throwing tariffs and starting
executive
fights
orders. Fuck you, my oldest allies.
So that would be the argument against it, is like some crazy man could come in and just change everything. My argument would be if the system was more efficient and you could actually get things done, you wouldn't need to vote for a crazy guy that comes in and does this crazy shit, right? You would get candidates that are more moderate and theoretically, right?
People would be more careful about how they vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Mandatory voting?
No, probably not. There's a lot of people that shouldn't. Honestly, there's a lot of people that they're not informed on any. If you're not informed, I think it is kind of irresponsible to vote. If you don't know anything about any of the candidates, you don't know any of their policies, and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna just pick
Blue's
one.
my favorite color.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, probably
Red's my favorite color.
You know what? Stay home.
Yeah, don't vote.
That's fine.
Please don't vote.
Right.
No, I don't. I don't think I want to be an American. But I'm not shy in expressing that I think that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are the closest we've ever come to creating the ideal form of government.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also agree with the statement, whether it's cognitive dissonance or not, that democracy is the shittiest form of government, but it's better than everything else, or whatever that quote is.
Yeah.
Like it's the
Churchill
worst.
Quote.
Yeah, it's the worst form of government.
Churchill also said in the same breath, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. So I find that very funny.
That's fair.
But no, I don't disagree. Like that is the problem. It's like democracy is flawed in a lot of ways. Like maybe the guy who decides the fate of the country shouldn't be decided by a popularity contest. Like that's kind of, but the other side of that is like, well, then how do you pick? And, how do you prevent that from getting corrupted? And it doesn't seem to be a great answer.
No, I don't think there is. I think that's
not that democracy hasn't been corrupted as well, but
no, I would say that democracy is better at weathering corruption. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Americans and Russians are fundamentally different, that if Americans were to live under communism, that it would look any different. I think.
Oh, that is an interesting question. I wonder if it would. I think it would. I think there'd be some differences for sure.
Maybe, Russia, first of all, is the largest. The USSR was even bigger. Mm-hmm. Is the largest country in the world that has a population worth mentioning. Mm-hmm. We live in Canada, which is the second largest country by land mass. But we're smaller than California in population. Mm-hmm. So there would be aspects to it.
I think it's funny. I think the geography of a country shapes it a lot more than people realize.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I would say that it does. I think the more land you have, the more war crimes you commit.
Mm-hmm.
Your land to population ratio dictates the war crimes.
Quite possible.
The beat to death joke about, okay, it's time for World War III, Canada. Are you ready? Yes, I have my Geneva checklist.
Yeah.
So, no, what worries me about things like universal basic income, which I would say generally lean towards as a good idea.
Yeah.
What worries me is that is so much power, so centralized in where that money comes from, that it is almost impossible to avoid an authoritarian structure.
It gives a lot of power to the government. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think technology is the only way out of that.
Right.
But that means handing the keys over to an omnipotent digital god.
Not necessarily. The reverse of that would be people make the arguments for like cryptocurrency, something that's decentralized, which actually takes power away from those centralized powers, right? Now, does that work at like where this thing goes? I don't think anybody knows. Like the technology is so crazy and can swing. It's funny because you look at things like, Back to the Future or the Jetsons or whatever, where people can never predict what the future is going to look like. Every time we try, we're so wrong.
So we're supposed to have flying cars and like
That's
replicators
right.
already.
And hoverboards and etc. So it's who knows? Like it's a very difficult question to answer of like first of all, what the future is going to look like, and then a government that's going to be optimal.
What that looks
like. Exactly. It's like impossible, but it's fun to guess.
Yeah. I wonder. I had this thought that has escaped me partially, but I'm wrestling with it. It's almost there. So when I brought up, would Americans have behaved the same? It's one of those age-old questions. Like, if you were in Nazi Germany, would you have been a Nazi?
Well,
I wouldn't have been.
I did have blonde hair and blue eyes for my childhood.
Yeah, and I'm Jewish. I was Jewish. I would have been Jewish.
Yeah.
And I'm relatively Jewish.
Yeah.
Not practicing. I don't. I have tattoos. I've had piercings, and I fuck up shrimp on a regular basis.
They're so good.
I am not a good Jew.
No.
I'm not religious so much. But that question of nature versus nurture, getting all the way back to the concepts of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the average health and intelligence of the citizenry is more important than the structure of government? Or do you think a good government can manage any kind of citizen?
Oh, I think they go hand in hand. So it's like that quote of like, that which is not good for the hive cannot be good for the bee.
Mm.
So that's the dynamic of a human being. We're an individual, but we're also a collective. We can't really survive without each other, not in any meaningful way. But we're also individuals. We want, status and power, and we're always posturing in society and, jostling and trying to get ahead. But I do think that is, like a healthy population has a healthy government. Generally speaking, like you look at, the way Russia, for example, went the way it did, it's because a very small percentage of the population was very badly abusing a very large percentage of the population. That created not only an unhealthy population in the sense of like they were physically like unhealthy, but it creates a lot of resentment in a society. And I think that's the dangerous thing, when there's a lot of people that are really pissed off and don't really know what to do about it. That's when people just start tearing shit down. And that's kind of what the communist revolutions were, is let's just tear everything down and hope in this new structure, whatever it turns out to be, that I'll get ahead.
In a world where there's no competition that's measurable because there are no resources on which to measure them, I'm struggling with your utopian concepts, but I am the dark side of the coin and you are the light side of the coin.
Don't get me wrong, I don't think you eliminate that.
Human nature.
Yeah, no way.
How do we wrestle with human nature? I think that's a question that, do you think technology can solve human nature?
That is
whether that's building the perfect playground?
Yeah, that's one I've been struggling with, because it's like, okay, what I've realized is, morality and the way humans behave, really what it comes down to is how comfortable they are in the moment.
For a majority of the population.
Yeah. Again, not an absolute rule, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the more, the worse things get from a material perspective. You know, when people don't have, it's that hierarchy of needs. When people don't have basic security, they get violent. That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
When your survival is on the line, you got to do what you got to do. So the further we move away from that, the more that was
It's good.
Okay. The further you move away from that, I think the less desire there is for violence. It's like if I'm living good, why would I want to stir shit up? Why would I want to break things?
That's true.
Right? So there's that perspective. But the thing of like, there will always be competition. There will always be like I said, you could have everything, all your needs could be met, but you still want an island. You know, you still like if you still want a beach house and a nice car. Like there's never going to be a point where like people aren't desiring more than what they have. That's just human nature, right? Yeah. But my thing is like if we get to the point with technology where we meet the basic needs for everyone, right? Because it becomes so cheap, then maybe that moves us further towards a more enlightened population, right? If people aren't in need of housing and food and all this, maybe they don't turn to drugs or something. And maybe because they don't turn to drugs, they raise their children better. And maybe because they raise their children better, society, that's, again, the very flowery version of it.
Drug addict parents out there, Pete's saying it's all your fault. I'm kidding. If you struggle with that, find a program.
Yes.
Oopsie.
Oops. No, but the other, again, the slightly more like cyberpunk version of that is genetic engineering is a dicey thing that is happening.
Yeah.
So if you're saying like, oh, do you think that people can change or what, like humanity as a whole can? Yeah, it could. Like, who knows what the fuck will become?
Have you read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley?
I haven't. Bro,
you're the smartest dude I've ever met who hasn't read The Pillars.
I told you I don't read enough.
I know, dude. Start with Brave New World.
I read Foundation like 4 times, and that's yeah, I know.
It's my Bible.
It's my Bible. No, I need to read more. Absolutely.
No, I think you would love and hate Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
I do. I
have a copy. I'll fucking give it to you.
I haven't read his books, but I've read he's wrote like some articles and short things that I have read, and I think he was kind of like a communist, but like broke with the he definitely had some left.
He could see the good. He could see the good in it.
He had some left-leaning sympathies, and then I think later broke with that and kind of trashed them. But you can see that he does come from that.
Brief, spoiler-free synopsis.
Okay, go ahead.
Utopian society. Maintained in 2 ways. Multiple ways. But 2 specifically.
Okay.
Everyone is on a drug called Soma, which makes you happy. Everyone. They genetically engineer the castes of society. So if your job is to scoop poop, you are nature that way, shorter, squatter, much lower IQ. We're talking just enough IQ to do the job.
Right.
And you are nurtured through
whatever the system.
Yeah, hypnotic. And you don't have parents. There's no more family structure. You come out of a birthing factory.
Yeah.
And you're an alpha, you're a gamma, you're a beta, and you're basically indoctrinated into loving what you do. And they even indoctrinate consumption and build sports and activities based on their consumption. So none of their sports are like soccer. Buy a soccer ball, have nets. You can play for years and never consume again. All their sports are based on consumables.
Right.
And that's what drives their economy. It sounds like you're describing that as utopia.
Well, not necessarily as the utopia. A couple of points on that. Number one, controversial, even for me, is would that be so bad?
I struggle with that too.
Yeah, if you're shoveling shit, but you just love it.
Shoveling shit.
That's what you're like. I mean, you look at those. The way to, sort of rationalize it would be you look at those dogs, those working dogs, like when they're the border collies that are herding sheep.
Just happy.
You never see them so happy as when they're herding those goddamn sheep. Like that is what they live to do. So I don't know. That is a dark but you know,
You should read the book.
yeah, I should. No kidding.
Have you read 1984?
Yes, that I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the
I think-
counterpoint to 1984.
Hasn't everybody read that? Like, isn't that a high school mandatory thing? I don't know. Anyways.
It wasn't. When I was growing up, the book that was mandatory was like Bully Boys.
Yeah, okay. Anyways.
Which-
I read the one with, who's Pony Boy? What story is that from? The Socias and the Greasers and the... Anyways, let's not get down that road.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one where they're all stuck on an island.
Oh, that's, what is that one
I
called?
want to say To Kill a Mockingbird, but that's not
That's
it.
not even close.
Not even close.
It's, I know this one. It's the Piggy and the...
Yeah.
What's it called?
Fuck. We
I know.
We gotta stop.
We
hitting our
gotta
heads.
stop getting hit in the head.
Or maybe don't do a podcast at fucking midnight after training jujitsu for
I
3
know.
hours. Yeah, whatever. That book.
Where was I going with this? Anyways, the other version of that, maybe that's harder to engineer than we think. You know, I don't know the limits of genetic engineering. Maybe we become something not recognizable at all. Like who the hell
Neon
knows?
dicks.
That will be my first request.
I want a bioluminescent genital.
Yes, please.
Sorry, my grandfather's going to listen to
I
this,
know.
and I'm sorry. I'm crude at times. I'm very well-mannered in front of you, but I'm crude. You'll laugh. You'll think this is funny. Don't let grammars listen to this part.
So yeah, I don't. That is actually probably the thing that is like most scary to me. It's like, how does that go? Because like everything, it will get weaponized, and the question is like how, right? You know, drones started out as like, cool, let's take photos of like, you know, each other. Oh, that's cool.
And now they drop
and now they're
grenades on
dropping
people,
grenades on
cowering
human
in
beings.
foxholes.
Yeah. So the question is, how will it be weaponized? And I don't know that answer yet. Like, that's kind of scary. Like, what if you start breeding like these just superhumans? Like, of course, you know, the military is going to be into that and try to breed super soldiers. They've been doing that as long as you can remember.
The Fuel Society and the Nazi Germany.
Exactly. Like, who knows how that goes? So that's quite a scary take on that. But the other side of it is, of course, you can cure all
Motherfucker.
all hereditary genetic diseases. Gone, right?
Yeah, anything that they can fix in the genome. to
anything
make the
you can
disease go
fix
away.
in the
Cancer
genome.
gone overnight.
Yep. Yeah, basically, like, can you imagine, like, they find a gene that is just makes you incredibly resistant to cancer? How amazing would that be, right?
They're actually working on using a retrovirus.
Yes, I've heard of that too.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the herpes virus.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, herpes
you told me
simplex
about it.
C.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes, okay.
They're using it because it's unbelievably specifically cellularly specific.
Well, it's hard to get rid of.
Oh boy, is it
Oh
ever.
boy.
Yeah, they're using it, trying to get it to hunt down.
But yeah, that
cancer
would be
cells.
amazing. Like AIDS gone, you know. So many of these things that plague people still just disappear. That's a good thing. Then, you know, some fucko at DARPA gets a hold of it, and, you know, next thing you know.
Glow-in-the-dark genitals.
That would be on the plus side. I'm thinking slightly darker.
For the betterment of all mankind.
That's right.
Pick your color.
Pick
They're
your color.
fluorescence only right now.
Lightsaber fight.
Imagine being the guy who gets the first one, and it gets a mind of its own.
He's the talk of the town.
Or it's a botch job.
But look, it glows. No,
Look, it glows. It's 4 inches longer. It won't get hard.
Yeah.
But look, it glows. Only under black light. I carry a black light
Yeah,
flashlight
I have to,
24/7. Look at this. You could just get that tattooed on now. We could do this tomorrow. Anton's a tattoo artist.
I don't think he can make it neon.
No, but he could tattoo fluorescent ink that would glow under black light.
Oh, would he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I could get it if you can read this. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, that, you know, tattoo, that's...
We should immediately bail on these topics.
Yeah, we
will go hard in the paint on
Let's
these.
move on. Next question.
How late did you want to go?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay, I'm going to check the time quick. Not that I really care, but people will have to digest. Oh, it does its own thing, so.
Yeah, we're just here.
Good, because I don't mind.
Yeah.
I got to get up and do a shrink appointment in the morning. I'm exhausted, and it's going to be great, though.
Yeah.
Okay, back to more interesting topics. I had one for you. Counterpoint to everything you've said.
Yes.
We developed nukes, which could be turned into nuclear energy, or bombs. We have made way more bombs than nuclear reactors. Why do humans suck?
counter to the counter, we have used far more nuclear energy for good purposes than for bad.
Oh, eat it, dick.
Because really, only 2 bombs have ever actually been dropped. Well, that's not true. There was some testing in Bikini Atoll.
Lots of testing in Arizona. What I'm saying, you're right. In anger, only 2 nuclear weapons have ever been. They've only ever been used.
And again, arguably, they ended a war and saved millions of lives.
Yeah.
So that's again the positive take. But yeah, nukes scare the hell out of me. Like,
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
they scare me.
Technology is scary. There's no doubt about that.
We're never gonna get hit by nukes. We live in a nowhere town.
We'll get hit by fallout.
I guess if they nuke Toronto,
we're close enough that we're gonna feel some.
We're gonna be sipping iodine in our morning teas.
The wind stings a little today. So,
guys, my penis is glowing.
Not in the good way.
Yeah, I didn't do this.
Yeah. No, that's that. Yeah, again, that's my
counterpoint.
That's the counterpoint.
Is that if you look at the general usage?
Yeah, the positives actually have kind of outweighed the terrifying possibilities. But
if we had gone as hard,
and again, sorry, but
no,
a perhaps much more, much better argument would be it prevented a World War III between the U.S. and Russia, which almost certainly would have happened without the threat of mutual destruction. Now, it almost happened anyways, so there's that.
You're right, but riding the razor's edge is better than falling off the cliff sometimes.
Yeah.
That would have been an expense.
Yeah, a lot of people would have died. A lot of people
would have been cool, though.
What do you mean it would have been cool?
Bro, that would have been interesting.
Poland would have been decimated. I would not be here.
Your ancestors.
Yes.
But it would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Who do you think pulls that? Who do you think pulls in that fight? Who do you think wins?
Oh, I think U.S.
Same. Yeah. We're biased.
In early, like let's say the 50s, the Soviet Union has a big advantage. I think they do much better. They pushed them a little bit at the beginning, but because they were ahead.
They also had more bodies to just throw in.
Not necessarily more bodies, but
than the States. Their population was like triple the States. That's
no, it
wasn't. In the 50s.
States always had a higher population.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I will trust
Western
you over this.
Europe.
I don't know what I'm fucking
Western
talking
Europe
about.
definitely had a higher population than Eastern Europe. Like, because you're not just talking about U.S. and Russia. You're talking about
the USSR,
NATO versus
all the Balkan states.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, anyways, I think U.S. wins that, but
why?
It would have been costly, because I think Eastern Europe was more decimated after World War II.
That's fair. It took place in that part of the world.
Yeah, like another point is like the West gave a lot of aid to the countries that the West gave a lot of aid to the countries that they had bombed the shit out of, right? Like America had helped rebuild a lot of that.
Yeah, whereas friends with Germany.
Whereas the Soviet Union kind of exploited more and,
the Berlin Wall was a thing.
Right. They didn't, especially East Germany, they very intentionally did not help them rebuild for a long time.
But controversial positive to the Berlin Wall.
Yep.
No Berlin Wall, no techno music.
That's a good point. I do love those techno beats.
Especially like German industrial techno.
Yeah, that's good shit.
Okay. I guess
so there's basically I think what we're coming at is there's a silver lining in everything.
That's true. I guess
yes.
I don't agree with you. I think that purpose through gentlemanly war.
Yep.
I read a quote the other day. It was a founding father. It got emailed to me by my grandfather. It wasn't even emailed to me. I put a quote in the beginning of my first, like in the intro to the first podcast.
Not from your grandfather?
No. I wrote, because it was with Anton, and one of the first things we ever like bonded on over philosophically was Musashi. It's better to be a gardener. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So I put that as a quote because it's one of the first times we ever like, oh, hey, you're a nerd. Oh, hey, you're a nerd. And my grandfather
the dead one that died twice? Or?
No.
Okay.
He's alive.
Good.
He drops a comment on it, And it's the most epic, beautiful quote. And I was just like, oh, that was so much more profound than anything I've ever said.
Yeah.
And it's not, he was quoting someone, but the fact that he knew exactly what quote, and I was just like, damn, you're good.
Yeah. There's something to be said for having been around a while. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it was just about that man has a spiritual need for conflict, and we need to find a way to give man war without the spiritual cost of war.
100%. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
So that's what worries me is
that's what sports are. I mean, you look at everything that sports are, that's exactly what it is. It's filling that need. Like the tribalism of it, you wear your team's colors, the little conflict that goes on in the field or whatever. Like that's what all of that is. It's simulating warfare more or less.
Yeah.
It is filling like a primitive need, I think, that people have to compete and to belong to something. And
what's interesting is there were studies done on the brainwave, which is such an old term, the neuroactivity pattern in the brain of someone during a religious ceremony / thingy, doing their church stuff and singing.
Yep.
And being part of that big, large choir, and people doing chants at football games in the States.
Yeah, I could
colleges
see that.
in the States.
Yeah.
And it was the same sort of brain activity.
Both are in a trance.
Yeah.
One is an MDMA trance, but they're both trances.
It's a trance.
Yeah.
That brings me to two subjects.
Okay.
One, psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
And
you have some?
Not on me. Not at home either. Don't
Okay.
worry, baby. I keep the drugs out of the house. I'm kidding. Last time I did drugs was I was high on mushrooms. I don't know if it's legal to say that. If you're a cop and I've just incriminated myself,
I think you're fine.
I'm sorry, but don't arrest me.
I honestly think someone, please, and I'm sure they will, correct me, but I don't think it's illegal to do drugs. I think it's illegal to possess drugs. I think that's actually the distinction. But
okay, true.
You admitted to both, but go on.
I did not admit. I said I don't possess them. I don't keep them at the house. That is
good.
not
Okay.
an absence of evidence. Is an evidence.
I
of
honestly
absence.
do. I keep them on the bread shelf. But
Sick.
Yeah.
Thanks. But I was playing pool, and I was very high on mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jesse's bachelor party,
good stuff. Yeah.
and I had just made a rule. I was like, they made mushroom tea, and it didn't really work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I got a beer, I just ate a little pinch of mushrooms. So by the end of that night, I was so messed up.
Yeah.
And Jesse is a pool shark. And his brother was like, I need someone to play with me. I got to beat Jesse. And he's like, you're playing with me. And I was like, bro, this is going to go
Were you just
so
like
badly.
in the zone seeing the Matrix?
No, the balls kept moving around because the visualizations were just like waving the table. And I was I'd set up on the cue ball, and 5 minutes later, Jesse's brother would be like, are you going to shoot? And I'd be like, I just got here. He's like, it's been 5 minutes. You've made no sounds. You haven't moved. I'm like, my bad.
Just been staring at the ball.
Smash the cue ball. I was like, good luck, fucker. Oh, man.
That's amazing.
No, and the other one was...
Just wanted to mention it?
No. I'm curious as to... Do you think there's a pathway to solving the human problem through ego death / out-of-body experience / borderline spiritual experiences through psychedelics?
I will say very difficult questions to answer because I know that everybody has a very different experience. I can say that for me, they've been very beneficial. I haven't had any in, God, it's been probably a year. But, and that's kind of like how it should be done. Which, like, I found it very weird that there's people like take mushrooms and go to a party.
Yeah,
that's insane. Those people are insane.
It was a bad idea to do.
I want to take mushrooms and lock myself in a closet. That's what I do. That's literally what I do. Like I put a blanket over my head and just like
go deep.
Just process what's happening. But no, it's very beneficial. Like in so many ways. That is,
We're not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal.
don't do it.
Legal disclaimer. But continue.
Like do a little bit. But anyways, no, it's would the world, again, with at the risk of sounding like a hippie, I think I've already done that. But if everybody did it, would the world be a more conscientious place? Yeah, I think it would.
So if we replaced alcohol's status with mushrooms, you
we'd
think
be so
society
much
would
better.
be
I
better?
mean, think about what mushrooms do. They're not addictive, right?
Yeah.
They make you think more deeply about the people you love and, what you've done with your life.
Or cue ball for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But
and
not bad.
And no, like,
I stole that cue ball.
I mean, as far as I know, they don't make anybody violent or anything like that.
No.
Right?
There's like one recorded situation in history, but it's
again
very complicated.
And again, look, drugs react differently with different people. I'm not going to get into that, but
You're not a medical professional. I get it. Keep going.
I think I am in Mexico. I watched a YouTube video.
That's
Anyways, no, they don't really have any of the negative side effects you'd associate with traditional, narcotic use, like alcohol, which is a big one, which is like
Caffeine.
It's funny that alcohol to me is treated so casually when it is actually such a.
It's the worst.
It's the worst drug.
It's so bad.
Yeah, like if you look at what you get out of alcohol for what it takes, it's like, yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's the worst high.
No, I'm a big proponent of it. Like it's again, you got to go slow. You got like it's not you don't take it and go to a rave. It's not
no.
Maybe some people do, but I don't certainly. And I was very slow and deliberate with it, taking small amounts. I don't feel anything. Okay, I'm just gonna try again another time, right? So yeah, I guess that's my advice. Take it slow.
Take it slow.
But,
have a friend. Have a trip sitter.
Oh, is that what you do? I've never had. I don't want to be around anyone. I've had it a couple of times. My girlfriend and I took it camping, and it started. We were like, we're gonna take mushrooms and we're gonna go on a nature walk, and it's gonna be like the most amazing experience ever. And we were both tripping incredible balls, and it was so busy. It's a provincial park. There were so many people.
Oh my god, no!
There was so many people, and it was freaking us the fuck out. And by the end of it, she was in tears. I'm like, looking over my shoulder, like
now you're
tripping out. Yeah, that was not fun. So when you do it, I suppose correctly, which is for me, very much alone with my thoughts. In I would say non-stimulating environment, it's you'll start to think about shit.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I agree. I thought about shit. My favorite part, obviously I got the next day at the bachelor party. I was just hungover the next day and so fucked up. Jesse had to drive the car home.
Were you drinking as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, that's terrible.
Oh God,
I just feel bad for you now.
it was so bad.
That was a bad experience.
It was a dumb thing to do. I had a good night.
Yeah.
Kind of sitting there watching the room melt while drunk as hell.
Yeah, that is. I've never tried that. That is.
It was
weird.
dumb. Don't. It's not worth.
No,
Like alcohol
no.
just ruins all the best parts of it.
Yeah.
Because for me, the time I actually attempted to use them therapeutically, I ended up just watching Rick and Morty because I didn't want to do anything else. It was not a bad day. For me, what it was the next day. There was just this. Everyone warned me like it interacts with it's a serotonergic compound that interacts with your serotonin 2A receptors, and so you have a little less serotonin in the brain the next day.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed that feeling, and everyone warned me because I've wrestled the depression bear a bit in my life. That the next day is going to be rough.
Off of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you might be down more than usual. Expect
so
that.
Weird. Okay.
I was not.
No.
It was the most introspective, relaxed day. I remember it was raining, and my bed was right up against a huge bay window, and I just sat at the window and looked out at the rain.
Yeah, man.
For like hours, and
Amazing.
was just content.
Yeah. No, that's so. Tell me, I'm interested to know what it does to you, because for me, it's a roller coaster. So when you first take it, obviously it takes 45 minutes an hour to kick in.
Yeah.
Depending on different things. But what happens to me at first is I literally feel like I'm falling. Like that feeling of like you jumping out of an airplane, like you're falling.
Yeah.
I feel that for about an hour straight, and it's terrifying.
Oh God.
So I get through. That's why I don't like. That's what I'm saying. It's like not a party drug to me. It's like
No.
Anyways, so you have that and anxiety like with it. Like even falling out of an airplane is enough anxiety, but like extra heightened anxiety on top of that. So it's not fun for about an hour, and then that goes away, and then it just like slowly shifts into like the most like amazing feeling of like, oh my God, like a cup. It's so beautiful. You know, like I do this like total turnaround where it's just like I just feel amazing. Yeah. And
not in my experience.
no, okay.
Not that
Let's
I had
have
a
it.
bad one.
But again, could have been different, like even different variety of whatever. Anyways.
You know, different dosages of the compounds and different brains.
Yeah, and sometimes they affect you. The same thing will affect you differently on different days. But go on.
It was a relatively large dose, which was the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a trip sitter, someone who is educated in the therapeutic benefit of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And she tried to be therapeutic about it, but I was like, I can't do more than Rick and Morty right now.
Yeah.
And we even set up a projector on my wall, and I was just sitting back watching.
Oh, was this at home?
Yeah, dude.
That's cool.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'll get back to what it was like, but she's like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. She's like, you're good to drive me home. I was not good to drive her home.
No.
We passed by 3 cops, and we're driving, and I just heard her mention, it's okay, doggy, we won't hit you. And I was like, what dog? Got back. I got the car back in the driveway, and I was like, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever done, and I'm never going to tell anyone about it ever, because that was stupid of me to do.
Yeah, definitely don't put it
My
on the
trip
internet.
sitter dropped the ball on that one a little bit. Other than that, she was amazing. And she thought I was good. I told her I was good. I thought I was good. I was not good.
No.
This was during COVID.
Yep.
And we were all training in the garage in the kill house. And I'm walking by, and I just poked my head in to say hi to the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey guys, what's up? And Anton's like, bro, are you on mushrooms? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you still high? I'm like,
I love that he just knew.
yeah. Well, no, I
You'd mentioned it?
I mentioned that I wasn't training that day because I was doing my mushroom trip.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, you got to train.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I am still super high on mushrooms. He's like, how many opportunities to train on mushrooms are you going to get? Now, constantly.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was like, your logic is infallible, good sir.
Mm-hmm.
I will go put on my no-gi equipment, and we will roll. And I had an amazing time on the mats.
Yeah, I bet you did.
It was the best fucking way to sober up. Like, not sober up, but no, for me, it didn't feel like I get what you mean, that feeling of falling.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a scary one for me. I found that.
And just like your body feels weird. It's very hard to describe, but your body's just weird for a while.
Yeah, gravity has less of a cognitive effect. You think in terms different than gravity. You know, you describe the scientist versus artist in the rows.
Yeah.
You're living in the different levels.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, it can absolutely feel like you're falling down those levels.
And I think like a lot of it's weird that it does this, but like a lot of your dark shit will come up at that point too. At least for me.
I didn't have that, which is what's made me want to go on a deep trip again.
Yeah,
I'll get you to babysit me, and I'll just lock myself in a closet with some like, you know, Hindu meditation music, and I'll just go deep on that.
Yeah.
But
if you get to that point, again, we sound like such like stoner hippies. Like, anyways,
we're the opposite of that.
When you get to that place, don't. Everybody says this, but like, don't fight it. But no, just like the best way I can describe it emotionally, is like being lowered into a completely dark well, and just like learn to be comfortable in the darkness.
Okay.
Just learn to just be comfortable in that. It's a very weird state of mind you have to be in, but that is when I got to that place mentally, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm good, and
Okay,
I can start to
get it
process this and like deal with the shit that's coming up right now. But yeah,
No, so for me, it started off as like, I don't even know how to describe it. It felt like I was the best marijuana high I had ever been in my life.
yep,
I don't like marijuana. I don't enjoy feeling high. No, well, I guess I do enjoy feeling high. I don't like the other aspects of marijuana. It makes me not good. Existential as fuck. But I felt like what marijuana is supposed to feel like. I know I'm getting tired. We can call it. We'll hit it. Not right this second, but we'll, soonish, and we'll do round 2 soon. But I felt connection to just what it felt like is I was on the inside looking through a different me.
Oh, cool.
But the way you know things in a dream, not the way you know things. Like when I drink alcohol, Mike is drunk.
Yep.
But when I ingest psilocybin, I know that I'm high. It's like you're dreaming.
Yeah.
And I was able to kind of experience it from an observer standpoint. That's what it felt like. It wasn't quite out of body, but it was in the realm.
It lets you explore your mind in a way that is very like, it does some weird stuff to you, man. Like, again, if you haven't had that experience, it's like any way you try to describe it just sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But from that place, it was very interesting to actually find out what my brain could do too. Like, again, total stoner moment, but like I got to a point at one time. This sounds bad. I'm going to admit to it. I was taking mushrooms at work at one point.
Our work?
No.
Okay,
This is a long time ago.
I would have been like totally down.
It's not that long ago. It's a little while ago. I had a job where one day a week I would have to basically just sit in this room for 8 hours. Like, I was doing some stupid maintenance thing. So what do you do? Like, you're literally locked in a room for 8 hours. What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, you burn some mushrooms and, meet God. So I got to this point where I'm like literally accessing my brain like it's a filing cabinet, and like pulling up memories that I didn't know that I know. Like, it was very weird where it can take you.
Autistic Neo.
Yeah, very much so. But that was fun. Yeah.
That was the experience that I got. It felt like I was observing myself think.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah,
ooh, that's both an unhealthy and dark way to look at the situation. And it's also diverse from reality and unnecessary.
How much did you take?
5.5 grams. Oh, maybe 3.5. I don't remember. Yeah. I would like to take more because I know you can saturate the brain with it. You can't take too much mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like if you take, assuming you metabolize it general human way, 5 grams versus 11 grams, there is no difference.
There's a maximum.
Yeah, there's a difference between 3 grams and 5 grams. And these aren't hard numbers. We are not doctors. Yeah. This is not...
Well, and I think here is also the problem is like, even you take 3 grams, 3 grams is not necessarily 3 grams, if you know what I mean. Like, some of it is more potent.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same, like, physical amount, some of it is much more concentrated in terms of psilocybin than others. So
yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge for sure. But
no, so I think it was 4 grams ish, in and around there, give or take.
Yep.
I wish I had taken more.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to one day take more in an observed, safe setting. For me, I want the therapeutic value of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would definitely go deeper on that rabbit hole for sure. I think it makes... There are no arguments for alcohol that aren't applied better to mushrooms.
Absolutely. Like what it has done for like people with PTSD and depression and all of that. I think it's getting now pretty hard to argue against it. But again, like anything, it can be misused. But it's certainly more difficult than other drugs. Because like you said, you max out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think because I've never actually tried, but if you take it like the next day, it just won't really have any effect on you.
Yeah, won't necessarily have any effect, but you cannot maintain a mushroom high.
Yeah, you can't really be it's kind of impossible to be addicted to mushrooms. Like the more you take them, the more just resistance you build up to them, kind of thing.
You can get addicted to it in the same way you could get addicted to working out.
Right, you can get addicted to anything technically, but yeah.
Yeah, it's more if you're using it if you're using the state mushrooms puts you in as the therapy, and not what mushrooms unlock and do to you as a therapy, I think you can get into trouble.
Right.
When you're like, I'm fine as long as I'm on mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's when I'm not on mushrooms, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not using it as a plumber's toolbox for mental health, I think you can run into
definitely
trouble.
But again,
that's extremely hard. That's extremely rare.
All the benefits probably outweigh the risks in that sense, and
versus
certainly
alcohol
and other things that are being used, even other things that are being used like ketamine. That's now the newest party thing apparently.
Oh, ketamine! I think ketamine is actually super interesting as a therapeutic compound.
Oh, I'm
but
sure
you're right.
it is.
But it's
as far as self-administered
safety envelope
yeah,
is way worse.
Yeah.
If you went to a party where there was an unlimited amount of mushrooms and unlimited amount of ketamine, you're going to have no deaths at one and a lot at the other.
Yeah.
Same with alcohol. If you could drink enough alcohol to poison yourself, which you can absolutely
people do all the time, yeah.
But most people throw up and their body's like, "Oh, you've poisoned us.
Yeah.
I'm now going to throw up." You could eat ounces of mushrooms.
You might also throw up because
you would definitely throw up.
They are disgusting.
I enjoyed them.
Oh,
I don't think they tasted drunk. I was drunk and high on mushrooms when I was eating them, but I was like, these aren't that bad.
Yeah,
I kept snacking and I was like,
maybe you tried a different variety than mine, because mine literally tasted like, what you'd think mold tastes like, basically.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I remember one of the guys at the party was just super high on mushrooms, didn't drink, and was just playing Halo. Because there was two.
That guy had it figured out.
That guy had a good time, and he kept watching me.
He's like,
is that the fifth time you've eaten a little pinch of mushrooms? I'm like, they actually taste kind of good. He's like, you're definitely drunk. Yeah. They do not taste good. I was like, I don't know, they're mushroomy.
When the veteran mushroom guy's like, hey, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
You need to slow down.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want you to eat all the mushrooms. I'm not worried about you being too high.
Yeah.
You just keep
Don't
eating
hog
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not a snack. It's not like there's a bowl of chips and a bowl of mushrooms. Don't treat them like chips at a party.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was like, good call. One more pinch.
So I think that covers psychedelics, eh?
Yeah, I would say so.
That's the only psychedelic I've tried. I don't think I would try anything else.
I don't think my motivations to try something more powerful.
Yeah.
Would be holy.
My experience, mushrooms were plenty powerful. I don't think I need to go any more than that. But
I'm curious about DMT. I think under a
very controlled
clinical therapeutic setting, I would be willing to try.
Mm-hmm.
But
Agreed.
stuff like salvia, ibogaine, mescaline, it's like, it makes you throw up for 2 hours. I'm like, that's a religious experience on its own. Yeah. I don't need to go through that.
I think I've tried ibogaine. I caught it in the airport in what is it, Cancun? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was coming out of both ends. I think it's
I think I've had the ibogaine experience.
Yeah.
No, one more question, and then I'll let you go so we can
get to bed.
If you could be God for a day, what?
You're assuming I'm not. Go on.
That's fair. That'd be hilarious if you were God.
That would be
especially if it's a Jewish God.
That'd be a cruel joke. Go on.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be cruel. I think it'd be funny. It's like when authors write themselves
I just
as a God
have
character.
Nothing better to do than just come to Earth and.
You'd be the kind of God like Tom Bombadil from Lord of the Rings, which you haven't read them, so you probably don't know who that is.
No, and
he's not in the movies.
Oh, okay.
don't. Yeah, they're great books. You maybe one day, but there's a bunch of other stuff you should read
into
first.
them. Yeah, no.
And there's a lot of songs,
Oh,
more
good.
songs than necessary.
Yeah.
If you were God for a day, what one thing would you change about human nature
Oof, just
to make the
one-
world a better place?
Just
one
one
thing.
thing. Oof.
And it gets back to my rapid fire question of loyalty versus morality. And you picked loyalty over morality. And I was thinking about that question on the way here. I was like, I wonder what he'll pick. I knew you would pick loyalty.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if one of my friends is in trouble, my moral compass is going to do less dictating in that situation than my loyalty to my friends. Yeah. That being said, so from that kind of concept, loyalty, morality, aspirations, maybe pain tolerance, you can go as wide as you want, as much breadth or depth as you would like. But what's the one thing you would change about humans writ large to make the world a better place?
Okay, I'm trying to find the word for it, actually. It would be sort of their perspective, I guess. That's the simplest way of putting it. I would make humans understand that you are a very, very small, little, fragile thing in a very big universe, and that really the only thing we have as human beings is each other against this, like, ridiculous cosmos, like this ridiculous existence. Like, if you think about what we are, a little monkey on a rock that's whirling through space, and that space itself is slowly tearing itself apart. Yeah, I would give them some perspective on that. Like, you know what, maybe it's not the end of the world that you dropped your latte, you know.
Sounds like empathy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all related.
Subtly different, but so if roses aren't beautiful because they're strong, in fact, they're quite delicate.
Yep.
So if humans were a bunch of roses in a garden, understanding that there is borderline mystical forces that are the gate around the garden, whether that's the magnetosphere, gravity, the fact that a fucking rock hasn't taken us out by now.
Yeah.
If they could understand how thin the fence is, maybe
it's just
they
like
would be kinder to one another.
Appreciate what you have. Yeah, I think you'd be a lot more, a lot less eager to throw your life away, or to create
pain
if you understood,
if you could feel what the pain was like.
Yeah, if you had some perspective on, what that does, like what that opens when you go there. Yeah.
I don't think there's a better ending.
Okay, let's end it there.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Thank you so much, Pete.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We'll do another one.